Some people cry so easily that they start apologizing before the first tear even falls. But a tear is not an automatic confession of weakness. It only says something inside you reached the surface quickly. Sometimes crying quickly means your inner system reaches emotion faster than your words can organize it. The feeling is already moving while the mind is still searching for a sentence. It can happen during conflict, kindness, music, disappointment, pressure, beauty, or a memory that arrives without warning. Different doors open the same body response, which is why it can feel confusing. To outsiders, this can look dramatic. From the inside, it feels more like a cup filling too fast. The overflow is real, even when the trigger seems small from outside. The key idea is simple. Sensitivity is not the same as fragility. Fragile things break, sensitive things detect. This difference matters because shame often comes from using the wrong word. A sensitive nervous system takes in more texture. It notices tiny changes in tone, facial expression, silence, tension, and warmth. Your system may be reading small signals that other people filter out automatically. That extra information can be beautiful. It helps you feel art deeply, comfort people well, and sense when something matters. Depth can be a gift when it has enough room to breathe. But the same system can become exhausting when too many signals arrive at once. The problem is not depth. The problem is non-stop input with no recovery. Imagine everyone has an emotional cup. Some cups are thick, slow, and wide. Some cups catch every drop. This is why comparison can be unfair, because the same room does not hit everyone equally. People who cry easily may not have more problems. They may simply have less distance between feeling and expression. Expression arrives close to sensation before the protective mask has time to form. Their tears can be a pressure valve, a communication signal, and sometimes the body's way of shifting out of emotional intensity. A signal can be loud and still be useful. This does not mean crying fixes everything. It means the body is trying to move something that words cannot yet carry. It is motion, not magic, and motion still deserves respect. The trouble begins when the person learns to hate the signal. Once shame covers the signal, the person starts fighting themselves instead of understanding themselves. They hear, too sensitive, too much, childish, unstable, weak. So the tear becomes not just a feeling, but a threat to identity. The tear becomes a mirror, and the person fears what the mirror says about them. Now the person is not only sad. They are sad about being sad, and ashamed about being visible. This is why self-attack can intensify emotion instead of controlling it. This second layer can make the tears come faster, because the system now has more to process. The body now has to process the original feeling plus the judgment around it. A kinder question is not why am I so weak? It is what signal is my body sending right now? That question creates space between the tear and the identity story. Maybe the signal is grief. Maybe it is relief. Maybe it is overstimulation, anger, tenderness, fear, exhaustion, or being deeply moved. A tear is not a simple object. It is often a crowded little messenger. One tear can carry many ingredients. That is why judging it too quickly often misses the point. When you slow down, the message becomes easier to read. Highly sensitive people often have strong empathy. Another person's mood may enter the room like weather. This is why a sensitive person may feel crowded even in a quiet conversation. They can hear the hurt under a joke, the worry under silence, and the hope inside a small act of kindness. Their attention moves toward what is unspoken, not only what is obvious. This can make them wonderful friends. It can also make them tired after conversations that others think were normal. Afterward, they may need recovery from details nobody else remembers. Their body may keep replaying a sentence, a look, a pause, or the moment someone seemed disappointed. Replaying is a protection strategy, but it can turn into a loop. The mind is not trying to torture them. It is trying to understand and prevent future pain. Protection becomes exhausting when it never receives a signal that the danger has passed. But analysis becomes a trap when every feeling must be solved before the person is allowed to rest. Rest is allowed before every feeling has a perfect explanation. A sensitive system needs recovery, not constant investigation. A system that receives more must also be given more space to settle. Recovery can be silence, a walk, water, sleep, a soft boundary, or 5 minutes without explaining yourself. These are not luxuries. They are basic maintenance for a sensitive nervous system. Boundaries matter because sensitivity without boundaries becomes a sponge. The boundary does not kill empathy. It gives empathy a shape. You can care deeply without absorbing every emotion around you. Distance can make care cleaner, not colder. You can listen without becoming the container for someone else's storm. The storm may matter, but it does not have to become your entire weather. You can cry and still be clear. You can feel intensely and still make wise choices. Clarity and tears can exist in the same room. The goal is not to stop crying forever. That would be like smashing a smoke alarm because it is loud. The alarm only becomes a problem when it is treated as the enemy. The goal is to understand what the alarm is detecting and adjust the environment when possible. Sometimes adjustment is more effective than trying to become a different person. Sometimes the adjustment is practical: lower noise, fewer people, slower conversations, clearer plans. Small environmental changes can prevent a huge emotional wave later. Sometimes it is relational. Please say that more gently. I need a minute, or I cannot hold this right now. A boundary spoken early is often kinder than resentment spoken late. Sometimes it is internal. I am allowed to have a visible feeling without attacking myself. Visibility is not failure. It is part of being human in front of other humans. That sentence sounds small, but it changes the whole second layer of suffering. Removing shame does not remove feeling. It removes the punishment around feeling. When shame decreases, tears often become simpler. They become information, not evidence against you. Information can guide you, while self-judgment only tightens the body. Sensitive people also need beauty. Beauty is not extra for them. It is part of how the system regulates. Sensitive systems often regulate through gentle inputs as much as through logical advice. A song, a color, a quiet morning, a kind sentence, or a soft lamp can help the body remember safety. Safety is learned through repeated small signals, not one grand realization. This is not being delicate in a bad way. It is being affected by conditions, like an orchid needing the right light. The orchid is not weak for needing care. It simply tells the truth about its conditions. In the wrong conditions, sensitivity looks like chaos. In the right conditions, it becomes perception, empathy, and depth. Context changes whether sensitivity becomes overload or wisdom. So if you cry easily, do not start with the question, how do I become harder? Hardness can protect you from pain, but it can also protect you from life. Start with, what am I picking up, what do I need, and what boundary would protect the good part of this sensitivity? Those questions keep sensitivity practical instead of vague. Maybe you need rest before the conversation. Maybe you need a clearer plan. Maybe you need to stop pretending you are unaffected. Preparation is not avoidance when it helps you stay present. Maybe you need people who do not mock your softness, but also do not ask your softness to do all the work. The right people will respect the signal without making it your whole identity. Because sensitivity is powerful, but only when it has protection. Protection turns sensitivity from a wound into an instrument. Unprotected sensitivity becomes flooding. Protected sensitivity becomes insight. Insight appears when the system is no longer drowning. This is why the answer is not stop feeling. The answer is build a life where feeling has somewhere safe to go. A safe place can be a room, a person, a routine, or a kinder inner voice. Some days, you will still cry. The difference is that you no longer have to abandon yourself when it happens. This is the difference between having tears and being ruled by them. You can let the tear fall, breathe, name the signal, and return to the moment with more honesty than before. The return matters. You come back with more truth, not less strength. Crying easily is not proof that you are broken. It may be proof that your system has not learned to ignore what matters. Not ignoring can hurt, but it also keeps the heart awake. And in a culture that often rewards numbness, the ability to still be moved is not weakness. Being moved means the door is still open. It is a kind of aliveness, and aliveness deserves care, not shame. Care is what lets aliveness become sustainable. There is also a skill in learning which tears need expression and which tears need rest first. Sensitivity becomes easier when you stop treating every wave as an emergency. Sometimes the bravest act is not explaining the whole feeling. It is saying, I am activated, I need a moment, and I will come back. A safe person will not demand that you become dry-eyed before you are allowed to be understood. A safe person helps the system slow down. Their presence becomes a soft container, not another test you have to pass. Over time, the sensitive person learns a new rhythm: feel, name, protect, recover, return. That rhythm does not erase tears. It gives tears a home, so they no longer have to flood the whole room. The tear was never the enemy. It was the signal asking for care, protection, and a life gentle enough to feel fully.